Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime.
Well, 2018 was another successful year for Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, and we're expecting a continuation of that success thanks to the involvement of the community in our crime-solving efforts.
Now we're going to kick off the new year with a look back at a very old case, and it involves the mysterious and unsolved disappearance of a teenage girl from Fort Walton Beach. Let's get started. Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigators are still seeking information in a 29-year-old disappearance case. It's been nearly 3 decades since 13-year-old Andrea Durham vanished from her family's Ocean City apartment near Fort Walton Beach. Durham was home alone on the evening of February 1st, 1990, but when her mother and sister returned home from a meeting, they found her purse and all her personal belongings inside, but Andrea was gone. Investigators say nothing was out of place and there were no signs of a struggle. Many leads have come in over the years, but none have panned out, so the case remains an open missing person investigation at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, and over the years, we've actually received several Crime Stoppers tips as well. So, we never give up hope of finding out what might have happened to Andrea. So anybody with information, give us a call, 863-TIPS, of course, 100% anonymous.
And the thing to keep in mind, too, is this case has also had national attention, and there's been quite a bit of interest across the country because they had different things leading to different locations. But we know somebody out there has got to have information about what happened to Andrea, and we're just asking you to please share that.
And next up, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers and the Fort Walton Beach Police Department are trying to identify 2 men reference a robbery investigation. Now, back on December 31st, the suspects you see pictured here entered a home on Hunter Place in Fort Walton Beach and robbed the residents at gunpoint. Now, one of the suspects is described as a black male with dreadlocks that were bound in a ponytail, standing up straight on top of his head about 12 inches, and that's pretty distinctive. Check out that photo. He had a slender build, was wearing a white t-shirt, dark jeans, and black shoes. Now, the second suspect is described as a white male, slender build, and was wearing a white t-shirt, black jogging pants, black shoes, and a black beanie-style hat. Anybody with information, of course, you can contact Crime Stoppers anonymously, but if you take a look at that photo, somebody's got to know who that is.
And next up is a pretty scary case. This one involves the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office as well, when deputies were called to an apartment complex on Norwood Court in Fort Walton Beach around 6:30 on a night after receiving a call from a pizza delivery driver who stated a man had just tried to rob her. The victim said she had just delivered the pizza to an apartment, and as she returned to her vehicle, she heard a noise behind her. She quickly got into her car and locked the doors. That was obviously a good move on her part. A black male wearing a mask, a black button-down jacket, and holding a gun approached her driver's door. The suspect attempted to break the victim's window with a gun, but fled when she started honking the horn. So she really had her wits about her.
Absolutely.
And OCSO K-9 attempted to track the suspect, but wasn't able to locate him. But we're hoping that someone out there has some information about this really terrifying attempt to rob the pizza driver. Contact us anonymously with all the different methods that are out there if you know anything.
And the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is also trying to identify these 4 individuals involved in the theft of thousands of dollars in merchandise from Belk over in Destin Commons. This was back on December 19th. Now, the items included 5 air fryers, a 10-piece cooking set, 60 polo shirts, and over $6,000 in children's clothing. Now, the suspects placed the items in black garbage bags and left the store multiple times. Take a look at that. Those are some pretty good photos, too. So if you recognize them, of course, you can contact law enforcement or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Moving now over to Walton County, where the Sheriff's Office is currently working 3 theft cases involving stolen credit cards. The latest took place December 23rd at J. Jill clothing store in Miramar Beach. A store employee caught the 2 pictured females inside the store's stockroom, where they did have access to the employees' purses and credit cards. Of course, they took off after they were spotted, but shortly after they attempted to purchase gift cards from a nearby Walmart. And previously, a theft had taken place at Chico's in Miramar Beach, as well as at Wren Village Boutique. The victim said she left her purse behind the checkout counter, and that's where they had access to it. So if you have any information about these thefts, contact the Walton County Sheriff's Office or, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And next up, we've got more vehicle burglaries. This time it's smash and grab car burglars that targeted parking lots at area apartment complexes off Racetrack Road near Fort Walton Beach shortly before Christmas. Now, deputies responded to smashed car windows at 4 locations during the weekend of December 21st through the 23rd, including Chez Elan and Arium Apartments on Racetrack Road, as well as Choctaw Village off of Gibson Road. Now, of course, we can't stress this enough. Please do not leave valuables in plain view. And of course, always, always lock your vehicles. But of course, anybody with information about those smash and grab burglaries, give us a call.
And I think it's worth mentioning again, too, that people stealing guns from unlocked vehicles is a major issue, not just here, but everywhere. In fact, the loss of the police officer in Mobile, Alabama recently, that gun had been stolen out of a car. Next up, well, it's the time of year when tens of thousands of teens and young adults are going to be heading our way for spring break.
That's right, and this year it runs from the 1st of March through the end of April, and once again, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office will be boosting patrols on the beach, in neighborhoods, and on our local roads.
And visitors are going to be reminded, as always, that the zero tolerance policy for underage drinkers is not going anywhere.
We want the kids that are on spring break to come enjoy themselves and build memories and have a great time in our community. What we won't tolerate, and what we have a zero tolerance approach for, is the violation of the law, their age, strength, and possession of alcohol and illegal drugs. And so we arrest people now, we take them to jail, we photograph them and book them in, and as a deterrent that your parents will have to come get you. Some adult will have to come get you out of jail.
Deputies arrested 444 spring breakers last year. Most of those involved underage possession of alcohol, but there were a variety of violations included in that. The youngest for the underage possession of alcohol was just 14 years old.
Yeah, and open house parties are also a big concern. Now, last year, 2 so-called adult chaperones were charged after letting students drink and congregate pretty much at will. So be aware, deputies will be on the lookout for that kind of violation.
They definitely been cracking down on that.
And now let's run down our first list of people that are wanted by local law enforcement agencies.
And remember, if you can supply information that leads to the arrest of any of these individuals, you can earn a cash reward from Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, and you never have to give your name.
And first up is a new face to the show, wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office. That's Eric Antonio Roberts. He's 45 years old. He's wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, last known to live on Honeysuckle Street up in Defuniak Springs.
Jermaine Prentice Drake was last known to live in Crestview. He's wanted for aggravated battery and non-payment of child support.
33-year-old Joseph Lee Fairchild is wanted for violation of probation for aggravated assault.
Also looking for Phoenix Wendell Jordan. He's wanted for robbery with a deadly weapon and burglary, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
And William Richard Fontenot, who was last known to live on First Avenue in Crestview, is wanted for burglary and criminal mischief.
Moving into Walton County, Ashley Lynn Peacock is a 27-year-old female wanted for burglary and grand theft. Last known address was in Vernon.
And another new face this month is Jacqueline Ann Rumlin. She's 50 years old. She's wanted for violation of probation for battery, and she was last known to live on Gap Creek Drive over in Fort Walton Beach.
Contact us if you know where to find Timothy LaCole Hankins. Hankins is wanted for insurance fraud, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft.
And deputies are still searching for Clayton Marie Copeland. He's wanted for violation of probation.
Jamie Rebecca Adams last lived in Niceville, 41 years old, wanted for failure to appear for theft.
54-year-old Craig Mitchell Mayfield, last known to live on Troy Street in Fort Walton Beach. He's being sought for violation of probation for grand theft of a motor vehicle.
Contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you have any information on where to find Daryl LaShawn Williams. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for lewd and lascivious behavior.
35-year-old Coretta LaDon James is wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud. She was last known to live on Wilson Street up in Crestview.
James Dexter Jackson, wanted by Walton County for burglary, grand theft, and grand theft of a motor vehicle.
Last on our first list is Devin Earl Jordan, and the Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for him for felony violation of probation, last known to live in Defuniak Springs.
Next up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office recently released some statistics that kind of show the activity levels for 2018. Gives you a sense of the amount of calls for service that deputies are responding to. I want to just do a quick rundown on some of those to give you a feel for how much activity is taking place in the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. They had 236,639 calls for service in 2018. Those included traffic stops, almost 20,000, more than 14,000 citizen contacts, security checks. The public may not be aware, but deputies are constantly, when they're on patrol, checking homes and businesses to make sure they're secure. Almost 45,000 of those done in 2018. They also responded to 790 intoxicated drivers, and that's a pretty big number when you think about it. Canine Assist, we always like to talk about our canines. They stay busy. 3,182 calls last year, 202 calls of road rage, and then also 483 calls to the Sheriff's Office for people reporting shots fired. And that is just the tip of the iceberg.
Busy.
The amount of calls that come in, but it gives you some sense of the activity that's going on.
That's right. Now, meanwhile, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office recently recognized its outstanding performers, both sworn and civilian, for 2018. Now, you'll be able to find a complete rundown on each one's accomplishments in the upcoming Sheriff's Office annual report. But here's a quick look at the names and faces of these high achievers.
Now, at the ceremony, Sheriff Larry Ashley also recognized the very energetic and very successful efforts of Fort Walton Beach Chamber Director Ted Corcoran and Okaloosa County Commissioner Graham Fountain, because they, of course, were some of the major players in helping with the passage of the half-cent sales tax. And that money is going to be a big asset to local law enforcement and first responders, because it's going to help pay for some very badly needed infrastructure projects.
Absolutely. And let's move on now to our next list of names on our Help Us Find Them list. Now, these individuals, we want to remind you, they're wanted as of today's taping date, which is February 1st, 2019. So first up on our next list is 27-year-old Andrew Allen Koslow. He's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft of a firearm.
Roy Nelson Howland used to live on Harry Adams Road in Holt, but he's moved somewhere. We hope you know where to find him. He's wanted for VOP on an original charge of possession of methamphetamine.
And this one's been on the show for quite a few months. Deputies would really like to find her, and that's Anjali Rochelle Johnson. She's 34 years old. She's wanted for aggravated battery, last known to live on Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
Next up, Reginald Dwayne Muse wanted for violation of probation on charges of grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
And this is another one we'd really like to locate. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office, and that's 40-year-old Chad Alford. He's wanted for aggravated assault and cause cruel death, pain, or suffering to an animal. Now, his last known address was on Powell Drive in Niceville, but of course he's been on the show several times as well, so we'd love any information that may lead us to him.
And next up is Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr., wanted for failure to appear for fraud, providing false information to obtain unemployment compensation, last known to live on Brook Street in Fort Walton Beach.
32-year-old Michael Von Key Carson, he was last known to live on Greenwood Street in Fort Walton Beach, and he is wanted for aggravated battery.
You could earn cash if you can help lead law enforcement to William Brian Harnish with an anonymous tip. He's wanted for VOP for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia, last known to live in Freeport.
And Walton County deputies are still searching for Lucas Lorenzo William, and he's actually wanted for armed robbery in connection to a robbery that occurred on October 27th of 2016 over in Defuniak Springs.
Here's a look at Sean Richard Bennett. He's wanted for violating probation on charges of fleeing and eluding law enforcement, possession of a controlled substance, as well as carrying a concealed weapon.
33-year-old Timothy James Howard is wanted for larceny, resisting an officer, and recovery of stolen property, as well as failure to appear for fraud. Now, he was last known to live on Bearhead Road in Defuniak.
But we can say goodbye to Edward Lamont Fountain on the show because he has been located.
Great news, but we're still searching for Felipe Carrera Gonzalez Sr., and he's being sought for failure to appear for battery, last known to live on Earl Street over in Fort Walton Beach.
Also still trying to find Seamus Marshall. He's 23 years old, wanted for violation of probation for battery and fraud. Marshall's last known address was in Mary Esther.
And another new face is 21-year-old Leonta Antonia, hopefully I'm saying all that right, Carey. She's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft.
Big case right here, George Monroe Emmerich II, because he's wanted by the by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
And you can always just remember that any of these fugitives that are featured on the show, you can contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously. But if you know anyone who may have an active warrant, whether they've been profiled on the show or not, you can always give Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers a call. Of course, go to emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, submit a web tip. Of course, we also have the mobile tip via the P3 Mobile Tips app.
Certainly a lot of people have been doing that.
Yes, they have, and that leads right into the next thing we're going to talk about. Now, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that 2018 was another active and successful year for Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, thanks to all of you. And we wanted you to see examples of your impact in helping solve crimes and find wanted fugitives. Now, we received more than 1,200 tips in 2018, which led to 87 arrests and cleared 105 cases in Walton and Okaloosa counties. Now, we approved more than $18,000 in rewards as well. So as you can see, it's a very successful program. Of course, a lot of that is not only due to our viewers and our community, but also a very dedicated board of directors that we have. So we want to say thanks for all your efforts to help keep our community safe, and we know that the positive patterns of the past are going to continue throughout 2019.
Yep, there's no doubt about that. So we've got another list just to get that rolling. First up on this one, Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, wanted by Okaloosa County for sexual battery, sex offenses against a child, lewd and lascivious molestation.
And thanks to a Crime Stoppers tip, Jeffrey Adam Birdwell is now in custody.
Teresa Jean Gore, though, is still on the loose, wanted for child neglect and VOP for driving with a license suspended or revoked and possession of a controlled substance.
And Walton County deputies are still searching for 29-year-old Brittany Linnell Sanders. She's wanted for violation of probation for create, use, or possess counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information. Take
a look at Daniel Lewis Davis. Davis, last known to live in Crestview, he's wanted for VOP on a charge of burglary.
Roderick James Rudderson Jr., who was last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school, as well as failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked.
And local law enforcement still trying to track down Samuel Edward Thomas III. He's wanted for VOP on charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, as well as false imprisonment and grand theft.
And 45-year-old James Anthony Williams is being sought by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
With Tyler Lee Andrews, it's VOP on charges of grand theft of a motor vehicle and possession of methamphetamine.
Deputies are still searching for Tashawn Coward Sr. He's 42. He's wanted for driving while license suspended or revoked, as well as non-payment of child support. He was last known to live on Scranton Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And we would love to get Jeffrey Nelson Grimes off of the show. We do not, unfortunately, have a photograph of him, but he's a 54-year-old white male, and Grimes is wanted for possession of a photograph of sexual performance of a child, and his last known address was in Destin.
And some more good news, we can remove Ricky Joe Hawkins Jr. from the show. He has been located.
But not so for Bobby Darren Simmons. Simmons is wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation, last known to live on Wetzel Road in Sampson.
And Walton County deputies are also still searching for Herbert Samuel Duger for felony violation of probation.
Daniel Russell Alvarez is up next. He's wanted for VOP for burglary and grand theft. Last known address was Navarre.
And Fort Walton Beach Police are searching for Troy Don Deramus. He's 52 years old. They're looking for him for burglary. He was last known to live in Milligan.
And here's a big one. LaQuentin Rashawn Mitchell wanted for heroin distribution. Last known address was in Milligan.
And 50-year-old Eddie Roger Blaylock Jr. is wanted for violation of probation on the original charges of possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver, use two-way communication to facilitate a felony, and non-payment of child support. Long list there. Last known address was on Navy Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And here's another one involving possession of methamphetamine. This time it's Stephen Wayne Bowles II, also wanted for battery.
And James Henry Banks Jr. is being sought for failure to appear on the original charges of burglary and criminal mischief, last known to live on Colonial Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And last on our list of people we're hoping you can help law enforcement find is Lethea Garcia. She's 45 and she's wanted for fraud. Investigators say she swindled a 77-year-old by using a fake letter from a charitable organization, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
And now, of course, part of the reason we are able to pay these cash rewards every year to these tipsters is we have an annual fundraiser. And of course, the date has been set and we're super excited about it. It's always a success. I believe this is our 11th annual. This will be the 11th annual crawfish boil. And of course, it's going to be April 27th at the same location, Uptown Station there in Fort Walton Beach. We will start serving the crawfish as well as shrimp. I know not everybody likes crawfish. I'm not sure I understand that, but there are some folks who don't like crawfish. So there will be some shrimp available as well. But it all starts at 11 o'clock. We're going to have a live Zydeco band out there. One of the Sheriff's Office canines will be out there. It really will be fun for the whole family. And of course, you're supporting Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, because there are no taxpayer dollars used to support Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. So the Board of Directors relies on this fundraiser every year, and it's a big one to raise funds to promote the program.
And all the crawfish start trembling when they know, because it is so much crawfish is
Fantastic.
going through there, and they're so generous with the portions. They really pile it on.
Can't close the lid.
Get a lot. Truly can't. So you get a lot for your money, but it's also just a really nice atmosphere because there's other things going on as well. People bring their pets up there. You see a lot of folks with their dogs just enjoying the afternoon. And of course, I think with the addition of that Zydeco band, that really brought a new element and atmosphere to it as well. It's a good time.
And of course, we're always looking for sponsors for the event. If you want to not only promote your business, but support a great cause, you can contact myself here at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, and we will get you on board because it's going to be a great event. It'll highlight your business, and you will have a ton of fun, I guarantee you.
And I think, just to drive that point home, maybe we need to take a look back at one of our previous crawfish boils so we can get the juices flowing again, so to speak, for lack of a better term. And after that, that'll probably do it for us, and we'll just catch you on the next go around.
Do you Kenny. I mean, Ronnie.
Congratulations so far. Okay.